Okay, back again. So yeah, it's like the camera is just about to run down on its storage, so I had to start again. So yeah, I have some memories before being born, and yeah. So I also remember a lot about my early childhood, like being a very small baby, and one of the things I remember, some of my earliest memories are of like being in, I don't know what they call it, a cot that you put babies in, stuff like that. I remember being in a cot and behind the bars and looking out and wanting to get out and go outside and outside the cot and play, but because I was a baby, I was in the cot. Um, and then my earliest memories really were of my parents arguing. I remember like there was, I guess I got to about age 2. Yeah, I was about yeah. I'm from about age 2. I have memories, and first, I sort of came into the world and I had my family around me. Now I have two older brothers. Uh, One of them is I think 11 years older than me, and one of them's 5 years older than me. Now the oldest, he has a different mother to me, so he grew up with his mother, but we've got the same father, and we know that your seed line is determined by the nationality of your forefathers. So although in the world at the time he'd be called a half brother, he's actually a full brother because we've got the same father. Then my middle brother has the same mother as I do, and I grew up with the middle brother and both my parents in my early years, so till about age 2. And yeah, my early memories is that I was very confident, like and that's something that my dad always said he liked about me, that I was sort of like a boy's boy, very daring, very outgoing, but just very, like, I was kind of like in a lot of ways fearless. Like I used to like to do stuff like exciting stuff. I wasn't like timid, I wasn't shy or any of that kind of nonsense. I was a very sort of boy's boy, so to speak, and that's something that my dad always says he liked about me when I was very young. Now, yeah, so my earliest, I wasn't, and at the time I was just, I was enjoying life. So as you might say, I never really thought things would, fall downhill or go wrong. I was just, okay, I'm here, I'm just enjoying life. I was about 2. Now, one of my earliest memories is that is a night, and I heard my parents arguing downstairs. And my older brother, I wanted to go downstairs and see what was going on because I was actually worried that my parents were going to separate. You see, the thing about me is I've always been very cognizant. Like, I don't know, I've just had a very good discernment and been able to understand things, even though they might have been above my station at the time. Like, just sort of spiritual intuition I've been blessed with. So, my brother was like, I was like 2, and my brother's like, no, don't go downstairs. But something was compelling me to go downstairs. So, I slid down the stairs and I went into the living room, and my parents are arguing and they saw me, and I was like upset. So I was like, I was worried that they were going to separate. For some reason, the Spirit of the Lord put it into my mind that they might separate. And my parents, they stopped arguing. They tried to reassure me that everything was okay, and that no, it's okay. We're just talking, blah blah blah. Okay, my fears were assuaged, if that's the word to use for a moment. I went back to bed. Life continued for a little while after that, and then one day, me and my brother were upstairs in my parents' bed. I think we was in our parents' bed for some reason, and we was there, and my mum came in and she goes, "Oh, make sure you boys get some sleep because we're going to be going somewhere very special tomorrow." And at the time, we were thinking, "Oh wow, are we going to go to like Disneyland or something?" Because when you're a child, children want to go to Disneyland and stuff like that. So he was thinking, "Oh, we're going to go somewhere special," because my mum said, "Get some rest because tomorrow we're going to be going somewhere very special." And when we was asking me, when we asked her, where are we going? She says, "You'll see tomorrow, it's a surprise." So we was all like, "Oh, cool, well, we're going to be going somewhere special." Now, the next morning, my mum took us and we got dressed. And we ended up coming to the house where I grew up in. And we just came. and the house was basically an empty shell. It was just floorboards, and not floorboards like, you know, we have like a nice laminated floor. It was literally floorboards with gaps and splinters and shit, plaster walls, windows with no curtains. It was just an empty shell of a house. And we were like, oh, what are we doing here? And my mum was like, oh, well, this is our home now. So basically, my parents did split, and we were brought into this new environment, which was very harsh, because I came from an environment where we had, you know, nice carpeted floor, sofas, chairs, TV, radios, you know, wallpaper on the walls, curtains on the windows, heating. We had, you know, heating in the house, plates to eat our dinner off, stuff like that, dinner table. You know, we had loads of toys. Well, not loads of toys, but, you know, a fair few toys. We had all that stuff, but we came to live in a new house where it was literally just an empty shell. There was no heating system in the house, so the house was just freezing cold. No curtains on the windows, no wallpaper on the walls, just plaster walls and fucked up floorboards. And my mum, I think we had like one bed, and my mum was like, "This is where we're gonna live now." So it's very hard for me to adjust, because I came from a position of comfort into a position of adversity. And it was adversity. And also, the thing that kind of hurt me the most is that I didn't know where my dad was. And I was like, well, when are we going home? And my mum would be like, oh, well, this is our home now. And I'd be like, when am I going to see my dad again? And she'd be like, oh, well, I'm not sure. Now, I must have been, I think I was around 3 at that time. So, like, yeah, bear with me. Right. So I must have been around age 3 or 3.5 at that time. And that was basically where my life pretty much really started, because I couldn't deal with the hardship. It was like everything, like the whole world that I knew was just ripped out from underneath my feet. And psychologically, it was like a blow. And I remember thinking, oh, well, not oh shit, because I wasn't swearing, but I was like, oh, how did this happen? How did this happen? And I started to blame myself, because as a child, rather than project things onto other people, I'm the type of person that I start at home. So if something goes wrong, before I'm going to start pointing the finger and blaming other people for X, Y, and Z, the first thing I do is I examine myself. And that started when I was very young, when I was like 3.5, when the situation happened. I started examining myself, and I said to myself, well, look, how did this happen? How did we get here? And I thought, this is what I was thinking in my head. I thought it's my fault because I took my eye off the ball. I took my eye off the ball, and because I wasn't watching, and because I wasn't paying attention to what was going on and discerning what people were saying, now this situation's happened. Whereas if I was more vigilant, maybe I could have prevented this negative situation from coming to pass. So from that point on, that's when like my mind started to click, and I said to myself, well, look, you've got to be very vigilant and pay attention to every little thing, so that you never get caught off guard again. Because I blame myself for what happened, my parents splitting. And I was doing this all internally, because I stopped talking as much. Like before that, I'd be like very like, you know, open talking and stuff. But I thought, no, cut all that. Learn how to just keep quiet and pay attention to what other people say, and pay attention to what other people do, because adults tell lies. Because my mum had lied to us. She'd said, oh, we're going somewhere special, you know, tomorrow would be a surprise. I realized that, okay, my mum has lied to me. And if my mum can lie to me, anybody can lie to me. So my whole thing was never trust adults, and always scrutinize what they say. And when they say something, memorize it, run it backwards, run it forwards, you know, turn it upside down. Check what they're saying to see if it holds water, because adults will tell lies, or anybody will tell lies. So always be vigilant. So that's when I started to become very observant. And from that point, I was like, okay, watch everything, pay attention to everything. And then I've got to say, you know, Baraka Haba Shami Harashai, because that was a blessing that I developed that mindset very early on in life, because that mindset has helped me in so many situations in life, and it gave me a level of discernment from an early age to be able to look beyond the surface of things. Don't just trust outward appearances, but really scrutinize things to see what people are saying or where they're coming from, and even scrutinize yourself. Know thyself. That's very important in this truth. You've got to know yourself. So yeah, so I was in a situation where and we hardly had any money, so we had very little to eat. So at the time, a lot of what we would eat would be like just beans on toast. Yeah. And we didn't have any cutlery or plates to start with, so we was eating off paper plates. We didn't have a table to sit at, so we'd sit on the floor. And what my mum would do is she'd get sheets of cardboard and put them on the floor in order to prevent us from getting so many splinters, because there's a lot of times where, because the floors are so fucked up, my mum used to have to sit there with tweezers and be pulling splinters out of our fingers or our feet and shit like that. So it was very grim. And as I said, there was no heating in the house now, and we all shared one bed. Now, this is where the story really begins, because it was in that time that I started to really question about life. For example, because I wasn't seeing my dad, I started to think about death a lot. Because when I used to ask my mum, well, when am I going to see my dad and stuff like that, she couldn't give me an answer. And so I started to say to myself in my mind, well, maybe this is what death is like. Because a person can be here 1 minute and then the next they're gone. And I don't know when they're coming back or if they're ever coming back. So in my mind, I started to talk to myself and say, well, this is what death must be like, to lose somebody, a loved one or something like that. And so I started thinking about that, and I started to be very paranoid about losing anybody else. Like, for example, if my mum died or my brother died. And for most children, that's one of their greatest fears, in the sense that most children are very afraid of being abandoned because they know that they don't have the strength to survive by themselves. Now, me, I was very, very afraid. And all the time I was worried that, well, who's next? My dad's gone. Maybe my mum will just leave me somewhere, or they'll abandon me because we don't have much money. So maybe I'm like a liability, in the sense that if I wasn't around, they'd have more money. My mum and my brother would have more money, and therefore they would have a better life. So I used to think, well, if anything bad's going to happen, I wish that it would happen to me rather than me to lose someone else. For example, lose my mum or lose my brother. So I was going through this in my mind a lot. Now, around this time is when I started to first encounter demons. Yeah, it's around this time because it started with me thinking that, well, maybe if I wasn't around, my mum and my brother would have a better life, and this, that, and the other. And thinking that, well, if anything bad's gonna happen, or if anybody else is gonna die, let it be me. Those are the sort of thoughts that were in my head. Now, I wasn't talking about these thoughts out loud. This is just me having internal dialogue. Now, what used to happen, and I mentioned this at the camp last week briefly, what used to happen is there'd be times when I'd be just, minding my own business, maybe just playing with a toy or something, and thoughts would enter my mind. And I knew these thoughts weren't from me. Now, what these thoughts used to tell me is, why don't you throw yourself out of the bedroom window? Like the back bedroom window. And I used to say, well, I can't open the window because I'm too small. And this demon would say to me, yeah, but if you go and stand at one end of the room and you run and you throw yourself into the window, you'll fall out the window and you'll fall on the pavement outside and you'll die. And you'll be out of all of this hell that you're in, or this adversity that you're in, because it's a difficult situation for me to deal with as a child. And it would say to me, if you run and you throw yourself at the glass, you'll break the glass and you'll fall on the pavement, on the concrete outside, and you'll be dead and you'll be out of this situation. And I'd say to myself, but I don't want to die. So I was having this dialogue in my own mind. The demon would be talking to me. Now, bear in mind, I was about like 3.5 at the time when this was happening. The demon would be telling me this, and I'd be like, but no, but no. And it'd be like, but do this and do that, and life will be easier, and your mum and your brother will be okay, and you'll be out of it, and blah blah blah. And I'd be like, but I don't want to do that. So in my mind, I was having this spiritual battle from a very, very young age. I mean, I didn't speak about this for many years. It wasn't until I was like well into my adult years, in my 20s, that I finally opened up and started telling my mum about these types of things that I was going through at a young age. And it's very hard for her to deal with that, because no mother wants to hear that type of thing. But that's the reality of what I was going through. So I was engaging in spiritual warfare even from when I was a young child, age 3.5, going on from then. Now, what happened is, this would happen to me intermittently. So every so often, the demon would come in and he'd be like, yeah, but why don't you throw yourself out the window? I'm like, I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. I don't want to kill myself. So I'll be battling this thing. Now, it got to a point where one day in particular, it was a Sunday, I think, and for some reason or another, I was feeling kind of low in the spirit. And I was lying in the bed, because we used to share a bed at that time, me, my mum, and my brother. And I think I was in the bed, and for some reason or another, my mum and my brother had been being a bit mean to me for some reason. Sometimes the spirit got on them to do that. And I remember thinking to myself, look, you've had enough of all of this. The demon was saying, you've had enough of all of this. Why don't you do it today? Go into the other bedroom and run at the glass and throw yourself at the glass. You'll fall on the concrete and you'll be dead and you'll be out of this situation. And on that particular day, I said something. I said, look, in my mind, this is what I was saying. I said, look, if I can get through today, I can get through anything. And I says, if I don't, I'm gonna try and get through today. And if I can get through today, I'm not gonna throw myself at the glass, and I'm not gonna commit suicide. And I thought, let me just see if I can get through today. And if I can get through today, I can get through anything, right? The demon shut up. I got through that day. And you know what? Ever since then, that demon's never come back again, because I kind of defeated it. I didn't kind of defeat it. I did defeat it. You know, I said, look, man, if I can get through today, I can get through anything. So if I'm not going to do it today and I get through it, there's no need to contemplate that thought ever again. So all through the will and grace of Yahweh Hashem Yahweh Shai, I was able to get through that day. And ever since then, that particular demon, it never tried to talk to me in that same way again. It never tried to tell me, oh, go throw yourself out the window. You know, all that kind of shit. And I knew it wasn't my voice. I knew it wasn't my voice. I knew it was something else talking to me. But I never told my parents about this. I never told anybody about this. This is all stuff that I was dealing with myself and going through it in the spirit, you know? Now, I'm going to stop the testimony there, because that's a fair portion to open with. You know what I'm saying? But that's pretty much sets the tone of things that were to come after that. But that was my very first encounter of battling a demon. And it happened when I was like, as I said, 3.5 going on to, 3.5 years old. That's when that was happening. So I want to read a precept, Lord willing, if I can get this, Ephesians. Because we talk a lot about spiritual warfare, but you've really got to understand what you're dealing with, because you've got to have a strong mind in this truth. Because you've got to know that sometimes when you're hearing voices in your head, it's not always your voice, because demons can impersonate your voice. So therefore, you've got to put on the whole armor of the Most High to withstand against the wiles of the devil. This really is spiritual warfare. Ever since we set foot out of our mother's wombs, we have been engaging in a spiritual war of the highest magnitude, right? So let me read this to close out. This is Ephesians chapter 6 and verse 10. Finally, my brethren, be strong in the Lord and in the power of his might. Let me read this again, as it should be read. Finally, my brethren, be strong in the Lord Yahweh Shai and in the power of his might. Put on the whole armor of the Most High, that ye may be able to stand against the wiles of the devil. For ye wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this world, and against spiritual wickedness in high places. Wherefore, take unto you the whole armor of the Most High, that you may be able to withstand in the evil day, having done all to stand. Stand therefore, having your loins girt about with truth, and having on the breastplate of righteousness, and your feet shod with the preparation of the gospel of peace. Above all, taking the shield of faith, wherewith ye shall be able to quench all of the fiery darts of the wicked, and the helmet of salvation, and the sword of the Spirit, which is the word of the Most High, praying always with all prayer and supplication in the Spirit, and watching thereunto with all perseverance and supplication of the saints. Now, I just want to say this one thing. I've always believed in God. I've always believed in a higher power. And I've never been one to think, oh, well, maybe there's a pantheon of gods, or maybe there's multiple gods, or no. I never entertained any of that stuff. I didn't always know the Lord's name, but I always believed in the God of the Bible. And I always believed in so-called Jesus. Because when we was back in the world, we didn't know Yahweh or Yahweh Shai. Well, me, I grew up in a mainly Christian family. So, I didn't know the names Yahweh or Yahweh Shai. All we knew is God and Jesus. But I always believed in God and Jesus. And obviously now, later on in life, as the prophecies are coming to pass, we come to the knowledge and understanding of the name of our true power and the name of our Savior, which is Yahweh and Yahweh Shai. But I'll get into that. Lord willing, I'll get into that in other testimonies of how, the Lord led me to this truth, to be where I am today, sitting here doing this testimony video. But that's just a little opener to get the ball rolling, because as I've said to brothers many times, I need to do testimony videos. I need to do more testimony videos. Well, Barakatha Yahweh Hashem Yahweh Shai Thawada, Yahweh Hashem Yahweh Shai for allowing me to have the spirit to do this now. So with that, giving all praises and all glory unto Yahweh Hashem Yahweh Shai, Ba Hashem Makakadash, double honors unto the elders and apostles of Great Millstone that will well. And shalom to you, RKM, teaching this word around the globe with faith and truth. And until the next lesson, Lord willing, I'll say shalom for now. Wa abba ba, wa kwem shalom for now.